Yes, everyone, welcome back. We are doing 5 things live today because, well, I got no editors in today, so we're doing it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Anyway, how you all doing? Hope you've all had a nice and productive and easy Sunday. Was hoping we'd be doing this on the back of United's women winning the Women's FA Cup, but they've not done that. They've lost 1-0 to Chelsea, so unlucky for them. Been a hell of a season for them. But it ain't going to be with an FA Cup. Maybe United men team can do the difference, although Manchester City in the finals not the easiest, I would suggest. Anyway, you all right? Right, let's get into this then, shall we? Number 1, top 4 surge. So, where do we stand? We've had our skid. Newcastle dropping points yesterday probably would have been unforgivable if we'd have dropped points. Luckily, we didn't do that. You've got you got 2 games that you need to win out of 3. Liverpool play tomorrow. It does put the pressure back over on to those guys. We have got 2 home games remaining, and with our home form, you could finish into the top 4 at a canter. But you've got to utilise what goes on at home. That's it. It's simple as that. Win 2 home games, you're in the Champions League pot for next year. I mean, and we can talk about the absolute shit show that looks like the future of the Champions League as well once we wrap this up. I think it'd be a bit of an achievement. We are going to go back and start looking at certain pundits' top 4 predictions because there was some people got it horrendously wrong. Definitely can't underestimate the impact that Champions League qualification would have on us heading into the summer and to next season. Think it relieves a bit of pressure off Ten Hag, regardless of what happens in the FA Cup. I think winning both domestic trophies and finishing inside the top 4 would elevate this season rather than just finishing top 4 and getting a League Cup. I think adding the FA Cup on top of that as well would be really nice and a hell of an achievement considering the opposition that we've got in the final. But I think just finishing in top 4 with the trophy that we've got has going to have alleviated a little bit of the pressure, I think. So, number 2, Garnacho returns. Spoke about this a little bit yesterday in the review. Back with a bang. He's got the ability to provide a spark in these last few games that we've been sorely missing. He seems to have proven time and time again that he is a potent substitute throughout the season. We've missed that sort of youthful exuberance, the dynamism that he brings, and just the sheer confidence that he exudes as well. He's young, but I also think he could be very vital in getting Manchester United over the line. I don't like putting that sort of pressure on kids, but I think he's that special that I genuinely think if it's 1-0, 0-0 FA Cup final, you throw him on with 25 minutes to go, he's got the X factor about him that I think he could make something happen. And in between then, when we're requiring goals to make sure that we do end up in the Champions League with these remaining 2 home games, he can also help that as well. What does he have? Ultra direct, good pace. He's got composure, and there's a future star there with him. Next one, hit and miss. So United do still lack the clinical edge. We had so many shots yesterday. We really specialise in giving teams a chance. We really specialise in letting teams think that they're in a game here when we should just be absolutely rattling them and putting them to bed. It's a bad habit to get into, and that sort of ruthlessness is something that we're going to need next season if we're going to start competing for stuff. To be on the next level, you need to know how to, like, it's no good having all the possession, all the chances, 3, 4, 5 chances in a row, and then allowing the opposition down the other end of the pitch to go and score a goal, or not finishing those and ending up 10 minutes to go holding on to a 1-0, dying for a second goal, because it happens far too often. And if you can eliminate that trait, you don't have to work as hard in the last 30 minutes of games. If you can get 2, 3 goals up before the hour mark, you can cruise through games, and all of that sort of stress and toil and clinging on and winning things at the last minute, it takes its toll. Come the end of a season, that sort of adrenaline mount up sort of accumulates, and it's easier to just walk it through where it's no, that was easy. Yeah, put it away nice and easy rather than fucking scratching around towards the end. Decision making from our forwards is fucking baffling at times. Forwards have got to take more pride in the craft of finishing chances. Can't be having 27 shots and scoring 2 goals. Shite. It's absolutely shite conversion rate. There's got to be more composure, more continuity in the final third. It's just got to be better, higher level. Number 4, Sancho, misfired again. Seeing a lot of people saying, just get rid of him. Just get rid of him. I'm not on the just get rid of him train. I'm in the, you got to pick your shit up, lad, and do better sort of train. I'm starting to sound like a broken record a little bit with him, but it was another nothing performance from him. Garnacho didn't cost 75 million. Coming in and showing him what that sort of performance should be. When I talk about players taking their opportunity, and this was a thing with, if you cast your mind back to when Donny van de Beek actually played football, you got to take your opportunity. What we're seeing out of Sancho at the moment is very Donny van de Beek. People will defend Sancho on the back of what we know he is capable of doing, and that's okay. I'm not going to argue with you on that. I agree that they're both capable of doing something, but they're not showing it. They have to show it. When you've got academy players that go, give me a chance, watch this, and then they produce, they're the ones who should be playing. Players pick the team. When they perform, they will play. Simple as that. And at the moment, Garnacho is really showing Sancho up. He seems to have lost all of his X factor. If he carries on playing the way he has been doing, his United career will be short. And I think time is running out for him. And I don't know how he gets back to being the guy that he is. This is a big pre-season for Jadon Sancho. A big pre-season. He could still turn it round, but if it ain't there come September next year, I don't think he's going to get it back. And number 5, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I thought he deserved some praise from yesterday's game. I thought he defended really well. He defended his back post strong too, and that's been a weakness that's been evident in his game for so long that we know Aaron Wan-Bissaka, if you front him up, you stand him up, being the ex-winger that he is, he's got the agility and he kind of knows what you're about to try and do, and his timing, it's fucking otherworldly, man, when he's trying to do that sort of tackling. But a massive weakness in his game, well, that I noticed, was if a cross comes in from the opposite side, he's always defending facing his goal. He doesn't ever turn his body out, get his feet right, and be able to see where the danger and the threats are coming in. But yesterday we started to see him do that, and we've started to see him add various different bits to his game. Still not sure he's a £50 million fullback, but it's been really good to see that he's put himself through work this year, and it's paying off. We saw in the summer, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I see a lot of those one-to-one skill sessions that elite level players do. And the one that Aaron Wan-Bissaka posted, I don't think I'd have posted if I was his mate. I'd have been like, you don't look good doing these one-to-one drills. I see 17, 18-year-old players that haven't made a first-team debut yet in those one-to-one skill sessions looking frighteningly good. And then you see Aaron, you go, oh, maybe don't post this. Give him all the credit in the world for going out and doing the one-to-ones. But what they posted last summer was not the sort of speed, the tempo, the quality that you expect out of a Premier League £50 million player. But whatever has happened doing those one-to-ones, it has 1,000% elevated his game. And he's a better player with the ball. I mean, the guy's pulling out fucking tricks. At what point? Who last year was like, hey, Wan-Bissaka next year will be in the opposition box, boshing tricks out. You're going, shut the fuck up. But he's doing it. And also, his defending is getting better. His awareness is getting better. His fundamentals when it comes to defending the box is getting better. So I got to give him all the praise and say, well fucking done. He's turned his career around, certainly his season around. He might extend how long he's going to be kicking around at United. If United had gone, do you know what? This is an upward trajectory. Let's sell him because we've got plans on elsewhere. I think they'll still do bits and they'll get most of the feedback for him. But credit where it's due. Wan-Bissaka has really pulled it out this season, so fair play. Right, let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Sherrard says, will Jadon Sancho equal Shinji Kagawa? Don't know about that in all honesty. Maya says, convinced we shouldn't buy any attackers from Dortmund anymore. I was thinking the same thing, actually, reading that comment about whether or not there's something in the way we buy players from Dortmund, because it hasn't really worked, has it? I know Erling Haaland could completely decimate that sort of Bundesliga tax kind of thing on his own. But it's not been good for us so far, has it? Gavin says, remember the video Wan-Bissaka put out? Do I see the difference from then to now? It'd be interesting if he did put another 1-to-1 video out. Wouldn't it? Mendez says, do I think Diallo will get a chance? Not sure. Ahmed there with a super chat says, scout report request. Unahi or Soboslai in Leipzig. Noted. Anthony Davison says, Greenwood would be like a new signing. We have to keep hold of him. I don't necessarily agree that we have to keep hold of him. And I don't think we are going to keep hold of him. I think all of this talk of him going to AC Milan or Juventus has probably got a lot of credit to it. Shannon says, he's really improved. I think going forward deserves more praise, especially as his confidence has grown. Mike says, just checking to see how's you and the family. Everybody's all good, my friend. Thank you. Francis says, teammate of mine reckons that we control games better without Rashford as he's so direct and forces things too much. Does he have a point? So I was talking about this, I think with Ash maybe last week or the week before. We were talking about Manchester City, and there was this whole thing with Erling Haaland and Manchester City as Erling Haaland made them worse, right? And I wasn't definitive in either way with it, but I was saying Manchester United, I felt, when Ruud van Nistelrooy was here, almost forgot other players existed, and everything went through Ruud van Nistelrooy. I also think, although Rio says I'm wrong, and I guess he would know, being one of the players in the team, but I also thought at the time that United were trying to move into a 4-3-3 direction, because that was happening around about 2000, 2003, 2004, that the game was moving in a more 4-3-3 direction. It was negatively called 4-5-1 in it, but realistically it was 4-3-3. Now, you couldn't really play 4-3-3 with Giggs and Beckham as your wingers because they're technically more midfielders and actually would have been suited to being played as a pair of eights, really. I think the cultured midfielder Giggs became, David Beckham, two different styles of eight, but they probably would have been eights in a modern game, and not the wide midfielders that they were in a 4-4-2. And I think United suffered because we were trying to force Veron into a midfield three where there'd been a midfield two, and we were trying to force David Beckham, Ryan Giggs into being wingers when they are wide midfielders. And I think because there was that whole shift, Ruud van Nistelrooy came in and was individually extremely successful. 185 goals in 200 and something games. Phenomenally individually successful. But I think, I don't know where the blame, if that makes sense, lies. Ruud, or I don't know if it was because of Ruud or a consequence of how we were trying to play the way this came out. United were less successful in the early days of trying to adopt that. Now, Fergie obviously perfects it when he got the right stuff, having Louis Saha, Tevez, Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney. That was a team of forwards, a lot more pace, were a lot more direct, a lot more dangerous and fluid, and they could execute the 4-3-3 correct. Now, and Fergie there, I don't think it's the actual, but no man. Fergie says Ruud couldn't stretch a team. That's the key difference. It wouldn't have mattered if he'd have had Rooney and Ronaldo either side of him at his peak at United. Because I know at some stage he did play alongside those, but not in the same sort of system as he got early doors when he was trying to do it with Giggs and with David Beckham, and it wasn't really the true 4-3-3, which we evolved to when we became European champions in 2008. So I've covered a lot of ground here to go in a big, broad, wide circle answering a question about whether or not we have more controlling games without Marcus Rashford. Now, the point I was making is Erling Haaland making City worse? Fucking no. Erling Haaland makes City absolutely lethal if you put the ball in the right area for him. The chances of him scoring a goal, being as clinical as he is fucking way high because he's excellent. But they have less controlling games. Why do they have less controlling games? Well, prior to having Erling Haaland playing, Manchester City played with six midfielders. They had a false nine. Their wingers, generally outside of Mahrez, are not wingers. They are midfielders, whether that's Foden or Grealish. Yes, one dribbles more, one passes more, but they're midfielders. And then 3 midfielders. So when you have 6 midfielders and then fullbacks playing like midfielders and centre-halves who think they're midfielders, of course you're going to have a lot of control and a lot of passes in games. But what Erling Haaland does is gives them a focal point that's going to score goals. And ultimately, all the possession in the world, all of the controlling games is only so you have more goal-scoring opportunities. So do I think Manchester City have less control when Erling Haaland plays than when they play with a false nine? Yes, I do. Is that a bad thing? No. Do Manchester United have less control in games than when Marcus Rashford plays than when he doesn't? Yes, but that's because he is the focal point that is looking to go and take chances and make things happen. You have to allow attacking players to take risks and to take chances, and occasionally they'll lose the ball because of that. I think that was quite a well-worded answer. Fucking hell, I impress myself sometimes. Do you agree? Like the book if you fucking agree. Thoughts on Carragher calling Rio a clown? I don't know if half of what Carragher's up to is to try and just like stay in the papers. I don't know. But we'll be talking about it tomorrow. Gerard's random posting says, Big Dave, Golden Glove, what on earth? It's crazy, isn't it? So David De Gea is the Premier League Golden Glove whilst also being the one with the most mistakes leading to a goal. That's mental, isn't it? Raf says, did I see Laurie's recent article? Turns out Arnold is the one responsible for securing sponsorship and Woodward got the credit. Doesn't actually surprise me. Move. The dog's in here eating something. I don't know what he's eating. Does not surprise me in the slightest. Daniel says, that's why Kane is perfect and Usman wants to run in behind, but Rashford can do that. Brandon says, is there anyone from Southampton you'd take now they're relegated? Ward-Prowse, I think he would add a lot to United. And probably wouldn't be on his own as well, in all honesty. Asex says, Steve, I think there are less individualistic talents in the modern game nowadays. Feel like all positions are a ball-playing midfielder archetype. Yeah, I absolutely, completely agree. And I put the blame into academies in a big way. Rio mentioned this a while back when he was saying one of the first things people ask about a defender, I think he said it on BT actually, is he good on the ball? But the first thing you should be asking about a defender is, can he fucking defend? Ultimately, that's the be-all and end-all of a defender. There's too many forwards who want to hold possession. There's too many midfielders who want to hold possession. There's too many fucking defenders who want to hold possession. And it's even creeping into goalkeeping. The primary thing for a goalkeeper has to be, can he fucking save the shots that are flung at him? And we'll look at the other stuff afterwards. At the very, very, very highest level, yeah, there's clearly a bit more to it than that. But when it comes down to, as we're talking about here, everybody is a ball-play midfielder archetype. Yeah, I put the blame on Premier League academies. We will be introducing kids coaching very soon with Stretford Paddock from probably age 3, 4, right the way through 16, 18, 21. We should be announcing that within days, right? So we are swallowing up a couple of good academies, and the academies that we are taking, there's a real balance to be had with the academies that we're taking control of. And I'm going with teams and people that aren't there trying to win an under-11s game. I don't give a fuck if under-11s win. And I think it's really important that there should only be pressure in a club for one team to win matches. And that is the first team, if any, right? Your under 13s, 14s, it's nice if they win stuff, and of course it's so much better to be winning stuff than losing 10 fucking nil every single week. There has to be a bit of a balance. People want things to be fucking black and white and a little fucking headline. There are shades of grey in that. You want to be competitive, but within that competitiveness, there wants to be, the only pressure should be to develop, and that should be developing coaches and developing confident players. And I don't want robot kids. I want some kids that are off the fucking head. I can remember coaching, when I was coaching 7, 8 and 9-year-olds. The best kids was generally the naughtiest kids, right? And as a coach, it's on you to try and... I saw this from Roy Hodgson the other day and I loved it. I thought it was a brilliant quote and I'm going to steal it and fucking recycle it and use it. And he says, your first job as a coach, as a coach of young footballers, is to not turn them off the game. And I was like, yeah, perfect. Don't put too much pressure on them. Don't fucking demand too much of them. You have to instill an enjoyment of the game. And I saw another quote that I screenshot actually today, which I screenshot. So let me just find that real quick because I thought it was excellent. Again, where is it? I could have swore a screenshot it. Oh, I've lost it. It was on Coach's Voice. Where would it be? Bear with me, because I'm going to find it because it's that good. But yeah, your main job as a coach is to make this an enjoyment experience, especially at grassroots level. There it is. So this was the quote. And it's from Josh Hinkson, who's an Arsenal academy coach. He says, not all kids are going to make it. So hopefully you're producing and making kids passionate about the game. They might be the next administrators, referees, and coaches. And I completely agree with that. Most kids won't make it, but you should put into them some sort of a community ethos, an enjoyment, and an understanding of football that keeps them involved in a game for life. You know, whether they start at 2 years old or whether they come to you at 16, 17 and have been broken by the academy system and they just want to polish up and play football for fun. As a coach, that your primary job is to keep them in the game and to make it fun for them. After that, I would hope that the plan is to develop young footballers from the day you get them at the start of the season to the end of the season. Are they better footballers? No point should it be, did they win anything? Because the winning sometimes is an accident. If I've got a team at under 10s, under 11s, and they've got 4 or 5 players that are just fucking smoking it, they're going playing 13 or 14-year-olds to make it hard for them and give them a challenge. Because there's no point. No one learns anything if you've got a couple of fucking monster kids in there that are scoring 10 goals a game. It's shit for everybody involved. Sim says, so it's the taking part that counts. No wonder the youth for today are so entitled. Who said that? You just fucking invented that, mate. You literally just invented that. Because that didn't come out of my mouth. No, the number one fucking job is about keeping kids in the game, right? The second part is then to develop them and make them better players. If you're bothered about your under fucking 7s winning, there is a hole in your life that coaching under 7s is not going to fulfill. It's as simple as that. Because if you need to win in your fucking under 7s game, you probably should be talking to a fucking therapist. You really should. And actually, do you know what? Sometimes the participation is enough. Because not every kid's going to fucking make it. But the primary job is keep them involved and then develop them. That's it. Some kids out of there are going to get spotted by professional clubs and then taken. And then even in them kids, until they're 15, 16 and going to be looked at as having a career in football where they're going to be required to win, it's still about development. It's still about, can you make them understand football better? Can you make their touch better? Can you make them have better vision? Can you make their understanding of what they're trying to achieve on the football pitch better? It should never just be about raw winning with fucking children. It shouldn't. And I'm sure there's attitudes people like that say, do you know what, you fucking... How are they going to learn to win? Kids fucking know how to win, right? Every single training session has competitive elements to it. Who can do it the fastest? Who can dribble this without knocking the other cones about? There's always competitive elements to them. But if... Can you imagine the sort of toxic environment it would be if at fucking 7 years of age, you have to win? Or fucking... What happens, mate? What happens if the under-7s don't win? Nothing, they move on to under-8s. Being real. Absolutely fucking bananas. KMW says you can see Eze and Elise were naughty kids, but Roy's got them loving football. Yeah, Joe, I got back on the naughty kids thing. Yeah, naughty kids do stuff on a football pitch because they don't think the fucking same as all these little robotic kids. And I think the academy system takes it out of them. I don't think Paul Gascoigne would have come through an academy system anymore. Because he, like, literally, I've seen 7, 8, 9-year-olds that are just little versions of Paul Gascoigne. The way they dribble, the way they're not listening, the way you throw a fucking bib at them and it comes back. Put this cone out, you put a cone out, and you're thinking, fucking... That's, I imagine, what Gazza would have been like. All he wants to do is just fucking beat everyone and score. Those kids exist. And your job as a coach, first and foremost... keep that kid in the sport, no matter what. Second job, can you develop him and make him better? That doesn't mean, for the people that are like the win at all cost idiots in the comments, like, you would change that kid's natural fun and fearlessness into make him pass, make him keep hold of the ball, because that's the highest percentage thing to do. Because being a dribbler is like... whatever. Jack Grealish wouldn't have come through an academy if he'd have had a coach that had fucking stopped him and made him pass it and this, that, and the other. You got to keep that raw talent. The reason we get up on our feet is because we watch people do what Garnacho did yesterday, where they go, I ain't fucking passing, watch this. Boom. Yes, keep the street in the fucking kids. Keep the fucking street in them. KMW says, I played in the academy for Bury for 7 years and they took the enjoyment out of it for me. You ain't the only one. That's definitely a big thing. Dan says, did I read the Athletic article about Mason being a naughty kid and they did everything to pull him back in? Yes. Rio was an estate kid, yeah. Keith says, well said, Steve. They learn the basics and develop and improve. Pep turned Grealish into a robot. See, that's different. That's different. When you paid £100 million for a professional athlete in his 20s, that's different. And I think you can justifiably turn that person into it, because then the winning does matter. And for Grealish, it shouldn't be about enjoyment anymore, right or wrong. When you pay £100 million for something, you can look him in the face and go, we need to fucking win, stop fucking about. And that's fair. But if you're doing that to a 9-year-old, you've got fucking problems. The whole idea should just be like, have fun. There should be some sessions for kids where you go, lads, we're going to score 1,000 goals today, and then we're going to go home. So let's just go score 1,000 goals, and however way they come. Simple. Absolutely simple. That's the way you do it. Scott says, exactly, let them enjoy the game enough to want to do it again and again. Yeah, can you imagine being with some fucking drippy manager who's just like, this is a fucking big game, lad. Mate, I am 6 and I pissed the bed last night. What are you talking about? Dwayne says, not many things you're wrong about, but this is definitely one of them. Well, you can fucking disagree, but I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. The only people that should be demanded that they win are adults or professionals or professional adults. That's it. You do not need... If you genuinely think there should be pressure on 7-year-olds to win, I hope you never have children. Put it that way. Richard says, adult players are brought in to fill a need, kids play for fun. Boom. Jonathan says, surely part of an academy's purpose is to develop a kid into a person with options and a good personality. I think that's so far down the list of the expectations of an academy. It should be. I couldn't necessarily say that that's the case. And I know that there's things and initiatives being put into place where more things are going to be done for kids who don't make it, but it's a mad environment. Like, I know for United are doing something for starters. United are doing something called emerging talent, and instead of taking like hundreds of kids out of their grassroots team, they now keep them with their grassroots team, and they do an extra training session with United either at the Cliff or at Carrington. I think it's at Carrington, where they will then keep an eye on them and keep an eye on their development, but they're not taking them away from where their friends are. So it's those. Brandon says, I want us to try and get Caicedo for the future in midfield. What's my thoughts? I think that ship has sailed now. It seems to me like there's a lot of talk about him going to Liverpool, but I'm not sure how realistic that is. Dan says it's crazy how scouts can spot a potential pro at 6 years old. When Jaden was young, he went to City for a little bit, and I saw some kids doing their things at 6 years old that I thought was absolutely bonkers. And actually, some of the stuff that the coaches were saying to him was absolutely bonkers. And I spoke to one of the coaches because he was talking about fucking killer balls, seeing games out, things like that. And I was like, what is going on? Jay's only just learned to tie his laces. What are you talking about? And some of the things that they were saying like that, I said, what's the crack with saying that? You know, I'm coaching this age group. I wouldn't mind knowing why you're saying that to them. And he said, we're thinking of you just sling enough shit at the wall and some of it sticks. I was like, right, okay, fair enough. But I saw some kids doing nuts things there. And some of the kids, you don't need to be a scout to spot. You just go, Jesus, this kid's unreal. But I've watched in the process of us taking over some of these academies. I've been and watched under 10s, under 11s and 12s, under 14s and under 16s games recently. And I'm going to be honest, I'm like, none of these are impressing me in the slightest. Yeah, none of these are impressing me in the slightest. I think whatever I once thought might have been like pretty good, I don't know if it's because now I'm working with adults that I'm just like, my whole viewpoint has changed. So I think it's something that you have to specialize in and watch a lot of to get the feel for. I don't think you can flip from adults to kids, because I think your whole perspective shifts, in my opinion anyway. Gavin says Casado's end game is to reach Real Madrid. He's probably not the only one in that. Matt says some may consider winning as the end goal, but producing a result and continuing to produce results are fundamentally different in nature. Yeah, I think, there's I didn't agree with when City did this. So on the side of City Stadium, there is like photographs, like a big mural of all like under 11s, under 10s, under 12s, under 13s, and that winning trophies. And I don't necessarily agree with that. If you've got a couple of big kids, for an age group, and you put them into that age group, they're going to fundamentally improve your chances of winning at that age group, regardless of the skill level. We was actually talking in the office, Nosa and Ronnie was talking about a player that was at United, who got big really, really quickly, but actually wasn't even big. He was like 5'6", but he was like 5'6" at 8 years old, and then hasn't grown since. And they were like, he was amazing when we were growing up because he was just so much bigger. Got in at United, ultimately let go at United at like 16, 17, because he never grew from beyond that, and he never developed skills that would enable him to be a good player as he developed. And I think there's certain clubs that will focus on the winning of that. I mean, like United's Mason Greenwood, here's an example. There was a team that had Mason Greenwood in it, Dylan Levitt in it, maybe Ethan Laird and Brandon Williams, that lost like 9-0 to Manchester City. Who's made a debut for City out of that team that won? Whereas like literally half of the team that's lost like 8-9-0 made its debut for Manchester United. Do you know what I mean? Madness, man. What's his face says, but they also make smaller players more technical. I'm not sure who that's relating to. KMW says Garnacho's a Ronaldo regen, sure of it. He's even got a look of young Cristiano with dodgy teeth. Knight says Greenwood at 19 was pretty big physically. I saw Greenwood at 13 though, and he was playing under 16s, and I was watching it with someone from Manchester United, and he was talking to someone, and I overheard him say, "See how long it is before he notices," talking about me. And I went, "What you on about?" And then he said, "We're just talking about a certain player that was quite well known at the time, but I didn't know him." And he said, "We're going to see how long it is before you notice." And I went, "All right." And then a few minutes later, Green was playing right wing at the time. And I was like, "Who's this kid?" And they both started laughing. I was like, "Is this the kid?" Yeah. Wasn't any bigger. Arguably a little bit smaller. 13 playing under 16s. And just killing it. Of course it was. I mean, you saw what he's done since he broke through. And I think I did a video at the time saying, I'm not going to name the kid's name. I have a little rule. You could be 13 or 14. If you break into the under 18s and MUTV put you out there, then I'll talk about you. But I won't, and didn't from then, won't talk about anyone unless MUTV's put them up, because I don't think that's fair putting that sort of pressure on them. I think once they're on MUTV, the club's already made that decision. So, I'm okay with talking about them. They're already getting attention, and there's thousands and thousands of people going to be watching them. Big Ting says, do I think Mainu is a Casemiro understudy or more of a Bruno Eriksson hybrid? I think he's somewhat different to all of those. I think he's more of a box-to-box kind of guy. So I would say, I think he's a little bit different in general with that. Ralph says there are absolute ballers in Lower Manhattan area who would like me to start a paddock feeder club. Here's the thing, right? When we first started, and we still get this on a very, very regular basis, and I would say Rafe that we've got, coincidentally, with a player called Raf, or a commenter called Raf, there was, Rafe has been the opposite, or the exception to the rule. We have a lot of what I would call power league players come down. So these are people with unbelievable 1v1 dribbling, unbelievable technical ability, can go past anybody, but they cannot play 11-a-side football. Because 11-a-side football requires defensive work, requires communication, requires so much more than just the raw ability to go past someone and score. I would say, there's a lot more going on than that sort of stuff. And I imagine the ballers that are in Manhattan are probably more like power league players. King of Dublin says, when are we back in Ireland? We are trying to organise a friendly to bring Paddock over for the 5th of August in Dublin. I've already booked the hotels. We just need to book the flights and then confirm with who we're playing. We've already got a team penciled in. We just need it all confirming, and then we'll be over there for it. So if you're in Ireland, we should be coming over on the 5th of August. Our league's going to start on the 29th of July. We're going to play Saturday and Tuesday, and then they've given us the permission to pop over and play this game on the Saturday as well. So that should be pretty good. Righty, I'm going to wrap it up there. But cheers for tuning in. Hope you all have a nice, pleasant Sunday. I'm back in London tomorrow with Rio and Joel. So anything you'd like me to discuss with those two, get it in the comments, and I'll catch you lot in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me